you. I mean, what a weekend again, right? Holy cow. I mean, all those people down south, please. I mean, my heart goes for you. Anybody in Texas or in the vicinity there. I mean, it's just scary for those people. Nobody is on the internet there, but for those people in the surrounding areas, it is scary to watch, isn't it, Amnon? Hello, Amnon, our
Hello.
producer.
It is
Yes, I
very
mean,
scary.
very
It is
scary.
very scary. And I mean, we went through a couple of hurricanes here, but nothing like this.
Oh, I mean, it's the proverbial flood, I
It's
mean, the
amazing.
biblical flood.
Yep.
Um, I mean, the first thing came to mind, and I always have to have a little joke or whatever. But I said, I hope somebody built an ark down there. I mean, it's just really, uh, I feel so sad for these people losing everything. In fact, the first thing I said to my husband, I said, you know what? Even though I doubt that we will ever have a flood like this here because it's not the terrain for it, and even our Delaware, which is not far from us, but that is much lower than we are. We are a little bit up on the mountain here.
Mm-hmm.
And but I said, a tree, we have these huge 300-year-old trees around us, and that could fall on the house. And I said,
Yep.
we should pack a bag. Everybody should have a bag, an emergency bag, that you grab whenever something happens to your house or to your possessions. You should have a bag where you have your most precious photos in, all of your documents that you need to, we need all kinds of documents, passport and a copy of the driver's license, copies of your credit cards, copies of your birth certificate. Okay? So all that in one waterproof bag that is in a place, and in that I would probably put also a couple of bags of dehydrated food to keep me through a couple of days.
Yep.
uh, you know a few bottles of good water, and definitely also a first aid kit and a homeopathy kit. When you go to my website, and it's not quite finished yet, myhealth.com. If you go there, um, you will, in a few days, you will see a first aid chart where those are the remedies that you need for first aid. And if you just think of five, would be arnica for bruises and so on. Um, and that is the little dog I'm going to be talking about in a minute, and I think he's preempting me. But those are, if you want to have this list beforehand, please just email me, and that is
Just above your video, it has your name, and it is homeopath at mylifemywill.com.
all right. All right, great. And and I don't know what they have out there, but something is ticking them off. I hope it wasn't too disturbing. Anyway, so what we are going today talking about is, I don't know, let me just see what is
Sure, sure,
happening.
sure, sure.
They are really upset. This is when you live in the country. It's live. I have a doe out there with two fawns, that are following her, and
Oh,
they are right on my lawn. I wish I could pull the camera over
that's
there
all. It's all
and
right.
show you that, but it's really so. They naturally, my dogs have to say, "You're not supposed to be here." So anyway, we have to talk about something that is very, very important, and that is men's health. You know, men live on an average 6 years less than women, on an average. Over 90% of convicted acts of violence are carried out by men. Did you know that? 90%. Even though I know a few women that are pretty violent too.
Yeah,
So, but, you know, I mean, men are really, I guess it's the testosterone. And nearly 70% of the victims will be men.
interesting.
At school, huh? Isn't it?
Yep.
At school, around 90% of children with behavior problems are boys. And over 80% of children with learning problems are also boys. Well, that makes sense, you know? Only people with a learning disability would be bullying others because a there is no real gratification for that. I mean, to oppress somebody else, to bully somebody else, to be mean to somebody else, where's that gratification? It doesn't even make you feel better if you ask them. So you must have a learning problem if you do that. Men comprise over 90% of the prison population. Yeah, it does. Approximately three-quarters of the unemployed are men. A leading cause of death among men between 12 and 60 years of age is in self-inflicted death. That I didn't know. That's
Hmm.
really amazing, isn't it? Yeah, but I guess because men really are, in reality, they are much more self-pitying, if you want to. Now, I'm not saying that in a negative way, okay? I'm saying that they really are. Most men are much more. If you attack them, that's why they have so much. You know, they want to attack you back. If verbally or so on, you attack them, they usually come out swinging, and that is a sign of you know, not thinking of themselves too much. Men and boys commit suicide times 4 times more frequently than women. Women are much more resilient, you know. I mean, women will go through the crying spells, the self-pitying. They will all go through that, and then they will eat a pint of ice cream, and or drink a bottle of wine, or hang out with their girlfriend, or do something to make themselves feel better. Men might go to a bar or call their friend, but they usually don't share um, bad things. What do you think, Amnon? You know, men don't really share with other men.
But women are more women are more emotional. They're more. They
Yeah,
know how to connect. Men, it's like they say, men is not supposed to cry. What is that?
yeah,
What?
yeah. What is that? I
Yeah,
agree.
it's
You
it's
know,
it's
and
it's things that I guess somebody many years ago came up with, and it had something to do with that.
absolutely. Well, because crying shows weakness in their eyes. You know, sharing your emotional problem with another man shows weakness. Now, men will share their emotional problems with women, but that's usually your girlfriend. You don't want to do that, and you don't want to share with your wife because then you don't appear to be the strong, invincible guy that you want to portray. So, yeah, my man I must say, will share if he does have, unless um, he feels that it's none of my business, you know, and then he won't.
Yeah, that's
But
the
then
ticket.
he'll do,
That's the ticket. It's none of your
you know,
business.
yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I at times feel like I'm a little bit left out of the loop there occasionally. But then again, you know what? In 36 years, I've learned to say, ah, well, he has his period, you know? So he has his monthly, he has his whatever. So that does happen, but none if it is like suicidal or a really mental depression. That's what they are talking about here. And then the reason why men will commit suicide more frequently is because they don't feel that there's a way out. See, women are problem solvers. There's always a way out. Men are not really, as a norm, problem solvers. And that all affects the physical aspect. The mental problems are usually affecting how the body works. We have talked about that many times before. And in fact, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to have a psychiatrist on that will talk about that. And I'm looking forward to that show. And here's another interesting fact. Monday is the most common day for a man to commit suicide, and 9 a.m. in the morning is the most common time of death for men. So don't have ever any 9 o'clock Monday mornings, Amnon. Did you get that? All right. Did we lose you?
Well, that's because men don't want to go to work on Monday.
Ha! Good, good thought. Good thought. Now, H.D. Lawrence had a healing poem that I like to share with you guys, which I thought was especially sweet. I'm not a mechanism, an assembly of various sections. And it's not because the mechanism isn't working wrongly or that I'm ill. I'm ill because of wounds to the soul, to the deep emotional self. And that does not just go for men, that goes for everybody. But what a very, very relevant poem for that. Now, I like to share with you a case I had several years ago. And it was somewhat interesting because I did not think that I could really make that much of an impact on the man, because he was not really a person that wanted to do homeopathy. His wife had really sent him to me, and he was sort of like, yeah, okay. I mean, do you give me your best shot type of thing, you know? And I said, okay. I took the case, and this is what the case was, okay? His chief complaint of hers and his was moodiness. He had a very bad temper, and it was only making him unhappy. But his wife and children were also very unhappy about all of this. In fact, as often the case with homeopathic referrals, his wife was a chief motivator behind them, as I have said. And this is his story. He was brought up in a Victorian home with a forced background. It was very strict and disciplinarian. And that's the way he tended to be with his children and also his wife. And it creates so much friction with my wife, he said. I cannot communicate with my children, nor with my wife. I see my eldest son, who is 12, as a threat to the way I want to run the house. My wife is always telling me, stop frowning. You he focuses so much intensely on to find on any kind of fault, of anything that he finds is not in his liking, and he cannot really relax. This is how he came to me. And he also had, through that, there were a series um, of epilepsy, and he would have cramps in his right hand, and they would be almost like convulsions. Guys, stop. Okay. And the first thing that I saw was him was, I said, cupromet, that is a remedy that goes against cramps, but it is also a remedy that for someone needing the feeling of being attacked. Hey, you guys, stop. That doe is out there with her fawns and eating all the grass and everything. So anyway, let's get back to my... Stop.
Good luck.
Thank you. Well, you know what, guys? That's why it's live. The remedy that I got, cupromet, helped him greatly. It was, he was like... he started to bond with his children. He started to relax a little bit. He also slept better because he had, now he didn't have as many cramps, which stands to reason, right? This was a classic case of somebody who would have probably self-medicated himself. Either by trying to take valerian or drinking or going into some other drug. If he would have gone to a medical doctor, he would have been prescribed any of the medical relaxers. There's a whole bunch of them that they give you that are also very addictive. But homeopathy is not. Homeopathy is a gentle way of helping the body to heal itself. And this was definitely a classic case for whereby all of the mentals that he had, this mental fault finding, was definitely a catalyst for his physical problems, the cramps, the epilepsy, the anxiety attacks he would get. All of that, and this nitpicking, where some people, they nitpick. Why didn't you do it this way? Or wouldn't it been, no, wouldn't it be nice to do it this way? Would not be really, but it could be a softer one. But those are the kind of people that don't really make a lot of friends, And so in this case, we had a beautiful outcome, and it showed, and I'm sure that the man will live much longer than without, because mental stress causes stress, and that causes several things: prostate problems in men, heart problems in men, digestive problems, colon problems, even to the point of cancer. So you want to, if you are a man out there listening, now cupromet may not be the remedy for you. I would, if I were, if there's a man listening today, or the wife of a man who is like this, don't just run out and buy cupromet. it may not be the remedy for that person. But try to find a homeopath that is schooled in assessing the right and finding the right remedy for that person. There are several remedies that correspond to that. And that, in my opinion, uh, helps for a longer life. Being, being, having your moods and your temper on an even keel. Even Buddha says that, and in the Christian Bible, we have that also. That's where meditation again falls in. And I know that the Torah and the Quran, all of them are preaching that there should be a mental equilibrium, because too many spikes in testosterone and too many spikes in stress do our body harm. And we don't want that. We want to have a nice, happy, long life, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah. So one of the other big thing with men is infertility. And this is a case that was brought to me by another homeopath. She treated this case, and I thought it was interesting and worth mentioning here. A couple came to see her some years and was very distressed. They had been told that they would never be able to have a family because the husband had no viable sperm. Repeated tests had shown no live sperm in his seminal fluid. The couple were desperate to have children and came to me on the urging of the wife's mother, who was a great champion of homeopathy. When I'm treating infertile couples, she says, my friend says, I like to carry out a hair mineral analysis to check for trace mineral deficiencies and excessive levels of toxic metals. These can cause low sperm count and fetal abnormalities, miscarriages, and other causes of. Anyway, she treated with nutritional regime this couple, and also treated men and women, both of them, with a homeopathic remedy. And apparently it resulted in that couple conceiving a child and having a child. And it was very, let me see, she did say here, oh yeah, pulsatilla. She treated with pulsatilla, aurum, and mercury in a different way. You finish one remedy first. It has to finish its course, and every remedy has its own course. Some are 7 days, some are months, some are less, some are only a few days. So you have to know that as a homeopath. So then you treat with the other one. It's sort of like peeling an onion, and layer after layer comes off, and you finally get to the good part, the healthy part. And that's when the case is usually closed because the patient is better and well. Yeah, she used arum, which I thought was interesting, for atrophy, inflammation, and swelling of the testis. Apparently, this man had some episodes of that and some inflammation of the testis, and that's what caused that. Also, I must say, with many of the man-made fibers that we have in our underwear today, it can cause infertility if the testes are heated too high, if there is too much heat. And some of these man-made fibers can create a lot of heat, especially in the winter time when we have, and you wear that, and you may go even for exercise and wear them. If you're profusely sweating, you can have a lower sperm count. It kills some of the sperm off, apparently. So that was interesting. And Agnus castus was used. And it's a very interesting remedy because of its common name. And the common name is the chaste tree. The chaste tree. And it has been considered since the ancient times of herbal treatments to encourage chastity. Now, why, pray, would you use that? Well, here's what she is saying. Even now in Italy, the blossoming branches of the tree are laid in the paths of novices as they enter a convent to become nuns, to be chaste. Hahnemann's homeopathic proving of Agnus cactus confirmed the folklore reputation of the plant, with symptoms such as decrease or absence in sexual desire, impotence and coldness and shriveling of the penis. I had several patients who had complained of this symptom picture, and they have had cause to be very grateful for the chaste tree. I thought that was an interesting remedy. It was a remedy that was not known to me as yet for that, really, because I have not treated that many men for infertility, so I would have no cause of looking that remedy up. So the other one is that men often complain about is impotence. Now, impotence can be caused by many, many reasons, One of the reasons could be when the stress levels are very high. When stress level, now some men, though, I must say, when stress levels are very high, they are the other side of impotence. They become raving maniacs. They want to have sex all the time. Because what it does is they are extremists anyway. They do everything in extreme. And they like the opposites on each spectrum. They are either impotent, and when they're impotent, they go not in the middle of where they would, just go, because I guess that is not going to work really. They just go right to the one, sex all the time. That releases serotonin, makes them feel better, and now they can go and have more stress. So those people I'm not talking about, although they could probably benefit from lycopodium too. I did see this man. He came, he was 56, and he came and he said, I'm really worried that I'm going to have another breakdown. This happened to me years previously. I'm just feeling so stressed again. I wake up in the morning feeling so anxious. If there's something I don't want to face at work, or I find ways to, then I will find ways to avoid it. And if I can't avoid it, I go into panic. A while ago, I just broke down in flood of tears and I had to have some time off. Now, if someone comes to the door or the phone goes, I make myself scarce. They don't even want to be around people. And if they are married, have a young marriage or younger marriage, that might not work so well. That might cause even more stress, because now she is saying, come on, babe, get going, because she has needs too, so might not be such a great thing. But he also had a lot of, a lot of indigestions and flatulence, and he had joint pains all over. He also had one of those things that he couldn't, he had low motivation, and he was just stressed, it was sort of like he hit a wall and he couldn't get away from the wall. And what I gave him was like a podium. And like a podium is an Irish moss, really, and it's a healing moss. It's very, very good for a lot of reasons. So it builds self-confidence. It helps to remember. I give it to my husband occasionally when he starts to use different words for different things, or turns the words around, or says the wrong word. Like, for instance, he might say, oh, get me he wants to say, give me the remote, but he might say, just the television changer, because he couldn't remember the word remote. Now, with him, he's 88, and that's not uncommon. But if the man is younger, like 56, that is not a good thing. So you want to then think of like a podium. And all of you out there who are trying to learn a little bit about homeopathy, look it up. Look up like a podium. There's a whole workup. It's a very known remedy used for a lot of things. But this man, really, it worked miraculously. He felt better. He could remember. He had motivation. In fact, his wife called me up and thanked me. She was like, wow, what did you give him? This stuff really works. So I like to hear that. Those are the kind of things. So if somebody's out there who deals with that, you might try like a podium. It might be, but I always urge, try to get to a homeopath who can give you a little more insight, because they are different remedies for impotence. One of the major one is prostate problems.
Gisela.
Yes?
Kathy's asking, what remedy is good for heartburn?
Oh, for heartburn. Well, it depends on what the heartburn is. If the heartburn comes when you eat fatty things, if you you eat fatty things, well, maybe a good digestive enzyme, I would think. You could try that first before you go, like a papaya enzyme. Some of these Tums, they work if it's just occasionally. That's what I would try.
Right.
If it's often, you need to talk to me.
Yeah.
If it's often that you have it, it could be gallbladder. It could be that you have an acid problem in the stomach. There might be in the stomach some kind of lesion that causes that. It could also be some heart problems also cause heartburn. So you need to talk to me or another homeopath that can work that up. But if it's only occasionally, if you just have it occasionally, like you ate something fatty or you drank some wine and it's a lot of acid wine, and you can just take a Tums or take one of the papaya enzymes, a digestive enzyme, that works usually pretty well.
Good point.
Okay.
All right.
So prostate problems. Now, prostate problems and illness of the prostate is an awful, awful thing for a wife also to go through. Not only because it does something mentally to the men, very badly, because now uh, they are impeded, and they may lose their sexual tool. Yeah, that's what they think. It's like when women get their breast amputated. They have mental problems with that, because they don't feel often that they are feminine enough anymore. Um, for me, those things would not play, because I'm confident within myself that I know my femininity is not just my outside appearance. Um, but a man who is younger, when they're in their 80s, it may not matter. But if they are younger and they have a prostate problem, like I just had a friend's son, he did not want to go the homeopathic route. He had prostate cancer. Stage 2 had not gone outside of the prostate, and that really impacted him. And he's only in his 50s, and he wanted to go and have the laser surgery. Well, from what my friend told me, I would rather go in Alaska jumping into a freezing lake, or run through a firestorm, than going through what he went through. So I found it was so gruesome at one point. Well, she's also very descriptive, and I finally said to her, I can't hear this anymore. I know the clinical stuff that they go through. It's really awful. Anyway, let me tell you where the prostate is located. Most people don't really have a clue. They know, yeah, it's down there somewhere by the testes. They think it's in the testes. No. The prostate gland surrounds the neck of the bladder and the urethra. That's why it is very imperative that men check their prostate of being enlarged. If it is enlarged, let me tell you of what happened to my husband. We went on a trip to Europe, and before, it was in December, and before, he had a cold and I had a cold. And I wanted to get this over with, and I said, you know what? At that time, this was like 20 years ago, okay? I was not yet steeped in homeopathy. This would not happen today anymore. But in that day, I said, well, why don't we just take these off-the-shelf remedies, all these antihistamines and all of this stuff, and we just have some, Vic Vaporub and all of this the Vicks and all of this, And our cold went into hiding, and we went on the trip, and we got to London airport, and he goes and on the trip already, he kept saying, I got to go pee, I got to go pee, I got to go pee. So he went, and I thought every time it was okay. So we got to London airport, he heads to the bathroom, comes back, and he's white as a sheet. And he says to me, I cannot urinate. I've been trying now for the last 5 hours. I know I have to go, but nothing comes out, just a couple of drops. And my face just fell, because I knew how bad that is. Very quickly, you can contaminate. There's a backing to the kidneys, and you can die of that. It's not a benign thing. And any man out there who does not have a real full stream has to be concerned, and has to go and has to be checked. It's partly muscular and partly glandular, the prostate. It's called a prostate gland. A number of pathological processes can affect this gland, which secretes a fluid that forms part of the seminal fluid. Inflammation of the prostate may occur as often as gonorrheal uresis. This is accompanied by discomfort, pain, and if severe, with mild malaise and fever. A number of homeopathic remedies correspond to that. And hemophilia is one of them. Tuya hemophilia. Hemophilia is a remedy that will shorten. Also, what is very, very good remedy for you, that is tuya. Okay, tuya also should be in consideration. Now, many men have benign prostate enlargement, which is due to excessive growth of the prostate tissue. Now, that happens more often than not in many men. You know, it is the most common one. But with some of the medicines that we take today, statins and, blood pressure medication, diabetes medication, heart medication, well, those are the top three, right? Some of these medication, if you read the fine print, always read the prints, can cause a benign prostatic hypertrophy to become so large that it cuts off your urine stream. So that's why it has to be monitored. When you have a urine stream that just is a dribbling, or you have a hard time starting, go and have it checked, and then see a homeopath to see if it is cancer already. Then there are many ways of treating that. One is with a seed, and one is with radiation. Okay, so and then some is surgical laser, but homeopathy works well with it, and I have treated many with homeopathy. Now, some men may think that having a PSA test that is passing, like a PSA test that is maybe 5 or 6, which is still passing, right? When you get up to 9, 10, 11, 12, then you start to worry. But 5, 6, even 7 in some cases, depending on the age, can be okay. It should be 1 or 2. But if you are there, you have to take care of it, because one of the reasons for prostate cancer is that when it goes out of control, and one of the husbands, my mother married after my father died, and he died of prostate cancer. And let me tell you, it wasn't a pretty picture. It really wasn't. It was not. And it's not necessary. It's not necessary. You can have it removed. And it's one of these cancers that is totally successfully, even if it is done surgically. And it's just one of the things. Worrying about it and thinking and making yourself miserable over it or stressing out over it will not do a goddamn thing. So anybody who's listening out there, please think of to have it checked. Now, if you do have cancer, one of the chief remedies for it is conium, which is the common name is hemlock, which in reality is a poison, but many homeopathic remedies are poisonous. So here's a good example for that. That person is usually maybe quite close, but well-mannered and polite, who needs conium, also tuya. Saw palmetto is sold now. This prostate health, just one word about this prostate health herbal remedy that is being sold now, that may or may not work, because it's sort of like, yeah, if you are exactly that guy it was made for, then it will work. But if you're not, it may only work partially. And if it works only partially, it does not solve the problem. If you don't solve the problem will go on and you may end up with cancer. So this is one area that you do want to take care of, okay? So, yeah, men's health, especially those, but all can be helped with homeopathy. And that is what, and there was just now somebody wrote up what homeopathy, the countries that are saying homeopathy works. Even in this country, we are still saying homeopathy doesn't work. I mean, I still hear from doctors, oh, that's voodoo medicine. Well, it's not. It has been working for 200 years. Numerous cases. And all the remedies are FDA regulated. They are monitored by the FDA. Not that I put a lot of creed into the FDA, but it is at least a governing body that will test occasionally, is there any problem with any of these manufacturers? So there you have it. Unfortunately, we are running out of time today. I wanted to tell you the case of little TC, but we have to keep that for the next time. And if you are in an even area of flood or whatever, please be safe. If you're not, enjoy the day, enjoy the week, take care of your health. Take care of your mentals, because you want to keep yourself in a mental stability, men or women, that you can let it sort of like, I always say, I make believe I'm a duck. Duck you can douse with water and it just runs off. And I sort of make believe I'm a duck. Does nothing affect me? Of course it does. Once in a while, I stress out over something. But then I remember that this shall pass too, as everything. And there will be sunny days again. And I wish all of you a lot of sunny days and happy days. I see you next Monday at 5 o'clock, even though it's Labor Day. I hope you join me. And I wish you goodbye. Bye, Amnon.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.